In the 6th year of our marriage, Linda finally achieved what she had been planning since our honeymoon: my complete destruction. While I lay unconscious in a coma after the car accident she had orchestrated, she sold my kidney for $200,000, half my liver for $300,000, and was negotiating for my heart when I miraculously awakened. But by then, the damage was done. I died 3 days later from organ failure. But when I opened my eyes again, I was standing at Harvard Medical School, 25 years in the past, holding my acceptance letter. This time, I didn't choose business school. This time, I chose medicine, and I would become the one doctor Linda could never manipulate. Everything began 30 years ago, when I was still an idealistic 20-year-old heir to the Thompson construction empire. My father had just been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and, in his final months, made me promise I would find someone who loved me for who I was, not what I owned. That's when I met James Walsh at a charity fundraising event. He was a charismatic medical student from a working-class family, volunteering at the Children's Hospital on weekends while studying for his surgery exams. "Michael, you're going to change the world," James said, shaking my hand enthusiastically after I announced a $1 million donation for pediatric cancer research. "People like you give me hope that medicine can really make a difference." He seemed so genuine, so passionate about helping others. I was immediately impressed by his dedication and offered him a position managing our company's medical charity foundation after graduation. "You won't regret this, Michael," James promised, his eyes gleaming with what I thought was gratitude. "I'll ensure every dollar goes exactly where it's needed most." How spectacularly wrong I was. James wasn't grateful. He was already calculating how much access to our family fortune would be worth on the black market. The Parker family owned the largest chain of private hospitals on the East Coast. When my father suggested I marry into medical royalty to honor his memory, I was introduced to Linda Parker at a medical gala. She was 23, with platinum blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and the kind of cold beauty that made men want to earn her approval. During our first dance, Linda barely spoke to me. She was busy scanning the room, probably evaluating which other wealthy men might be better prospects. "Michael Thompson," she said when the music ended, "I understand your construction company now builds hospitals. How much do you typically invest annually in medical infrastructure? Not, how are you feeling about your father's passing, or what kind of medicine interests you? Just numbers." But I was grieving and lonely, and I mistook her professional interest for sophisticated conversation. "Amy, come meet Michael," Linda called to her younger sister, who was sitting quietly at a corner table reading patient case studies. Amy was 21, with natural red hair, gentle brown eyes, and the kind of authentic beauty that came from genuinely caring about suffering. She was shorter than Linda, more thoughtful, dressed in simple clothes that showed she cared more about comfort than fashion. When she stood to greet me, I noticed her hands were stained with ink from taking detailed notes about pediatric treatment protocols. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Thompson," Amy said softly, her voice carrying genuine sympathy. "I heard your father funded the new children's wing at St. Mary's Hospital before he passed. Those rooms will bring comfort to so many families during their darkest moments." She was the first person all evening who mentioned my father's death with genuine condolence, rather than treating it as a business opportunity. But I was too focused on impressing Linda to appreciate Amy's compassion. Linda was dazzling, sophisticated, everything I thought I wanted in a wife. Amy was just the quiet little sister who worked as a pediatric nurse because she couldn't afford medical school. During our 18-month engagement, Linda and I became the most photographed couple in the medical community. She planned elaborate gala parties that raised millions for hospital equipment, while I learned to navigate the complex world of healthcare politics. I thought we were building something meaningful together, using our combined resources to revolutionize patient care. What I didn't know was that Linda was already planning how she would inherit everything I owned. Michael's father left very specific instructions about inheritance. I overheard Linda telling someone on the phone late one night, "If something happens to Michael before we have children, everything goes to medical charities. But if we're married and he dies, well, surviving spouses have different rights." The conversation chilled me, but when I confronted her, Linda laughed, saying it was worst-case scenario planning, like any responsible wife would do. Meanwhile, James was systematically stealing from our charity foundation. Every month, he presented detailed reports about medical supplies purchased for underserved communities, surgical equipment donated to rural hospitals, scholarships provided to promising medical students. The paperwork was perfect, the photographs were convincing, and the tax benefits were substantial. What I didn't realize was that half the donations were going directly to accounts James controlled, while desperate hospitals received outdated equipment or nothing at all. "You're making a real difference in the world," James would tell me quarterly, showing me photos of smiling children supposedly helped by our foundation. "These children would have died without your generosity." I felt proud, fulfilled, like I was honoring my father's memory by saving lives. I had no idea that many of those children were still dying because the medical supplies I had paid for never reached them. The night before our wedding, Amy came to my hotel room carrying a small wrapped package. She wore a simple blue dress and looked nervous, as if she had debated for hours whether she should come. "Michael, I know it's not appropriate for me to be here," she said hesitantly, "but I have something I need to give you, and after tomorrow, I don't know when I'll see you again." "Of course, Amy. What is it?" I invited her to sit on the couch in my suite, grateful for any distraction from my pre-wedding anxiety. She handed me the package with trembling hands. "It's just a small wedding gift. Nothing expensive." Inside was a simple leather-bound journal with a note on the first page. "For Michael. May you always remember why you wanted to help people. Your father would be proud. Amy." "Amy, this is very thoughtful, but—" I began to say, but she interrupted me. "Michael, can I ask you something personal?" She looked directly into my eyes with the same gentleness and concern she showed her pediatric patients. "Are you marrying Linda because you love her, or because you think it's what your father would have wanted?" The question surprised me. Why would you ask that?" "Because I've watched you two together for 18 months, Amy said quietly. "You light up when you talk about helping sick children or building better hospitals, but when you're with Linda, you seem careful, like you're trying to impress her instead of just being yourself." She stood to leave. "I just want you to be happy, Michael. Truly happy. You deserve someone who loves the person you are when no one else is looking." That night, I stared at Amy's journal for hours. Was she right? Did I love Linda? Or did I love the idea of the perfect medical dynasty marriage my father had envisioned? But it was too late for second thoughts. Wedding preparations were complete. 800 guests would arrive in the morning. Merger agreements had been signed. I convinced myself that Amy was just nervous about losing her sister to marriage. The first 3 years of our marriage were a magnificent performance. Linda and I hosted charity parties that raised tens of millions for medical research. We appeared on magazine covers as the couple revolutionizing healthcare philanthropy. Linda managed our social calendar with military precision, while I expanded our foundation's reach internationally. To everyone watching, we were proof that arranged marriages could create powerful partnerships for social good. But privately, our relationship was emotionally sterile. Linda was never affectionate unless there were cameras. Our conversations focused exclusively on foundation business and social obligations. She had her suite in our mansion. I had mine. We rarely shared meals unless we were entertaining donors. When I suggested romantic trips or quiet evenings together, Linda always had board meetings, charity planning sessions, or mysterious health issues. "Michael, You need to understand that I express love through actions, not emotions, Linda explained one night when I tried to discuss our lack of intimacy. I coordinate your social schedule, manage your public image, ensure your charity work gets maximum recognition. Isn't that more valuable than silly romantic gestures? Her logic seemed sound, but I felt increasingly isolated. During this period, Amy graduated nursing school and began working with our foundation's mobile clinic program, providing medical care to homeless populations. When she attended our quarterly board meetings, she always asked detailed questions about patient outcomes, rather than financial projections. "How many children did we actually treat last month?" Amy would ask, and I would proudly share our statistics. "That's wonderful," she would respond. "But what about follow-up? Are these children receiving the ongoing treatment they need, or just one-time interventions?" Her questions always made me think more deeply about the real impact of our work, not just the impressive numbers we reported to donors. "Amy has some interesting ideas about mobile pediatric units," I mentioned to Linda one evening. "She thinks we could reach more underserved communities if we focused on prevention rather than just emergency treatment." "Amy is a nurse, Michael," Linda responded dismissively. "She doesn't understand the economic realities of large-scale medical operations. We need to focus on projects that generate maximum publicity and tax benefits, not experimental programs that may not show measurable results." But Amy's suggestions haunted me. Was our foundation really helping people, or were we just creating impressive photo opportunities? When I began asking James for more detailed reports about our program outcomes, he always had reasonable explanations for the difficulty of collecting the data. "Michael, you have to understand that these communities are chaotic," James would explain. "Families move constantly, children don't have consistent medical records, hospitals in developing countries don't maintain the kind of detailed databases we're used to. The important thing is that we're getting medical supplies to areas that desperately need them." His explanations made sense, but I decided to make a surprise visit to one of our main programs in Guatemala. What I found shattered every illusion I had about our charity work. The hospital James had shown me in photographs was real, but it was a crumbling building with no electricity, no running water, and no medical equipment. The life-saving surgery we had supposedly funded never happened. The local doctor I met spoke broken English, but made it clear they had received nothing from our foundation except a brief visit from James, who had taken photographs and left empty promises. "Mr. Thompson," the doctor said sadly, "we heard about your generosity on the radio, but the children here still die from diseases that simple medicine could cure. We have been waiting 2 years for the supplies your man promised." I returned home furious, demanding answers from James. But he was ready with explanations, documents, alternative versions of events that made my Guatemala visit seem like a misunderstanding. "Michael, there are often complications with international shipments, currency exchange, local political situations," he said calmly. "The important thing is that we keep trying, keep funding these programs, even when individual projects face setbacks." I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Because if James was lying, it meant millions of dollars meant to save children's lives had been stolen, and I had been complicit through my willful ignorance. It was around this time that I began experiencing severe headaches. Initially, I attributed them to stress from the foundation challenges, but the pain intensified, accompanied by blurred vision and episodes of confusion. Linda insisted on choosing my doctors and controlling all my medical appointments. "Obviously, I'll manage your health care," Linda announced when I suggested seeking a second opinion about my symptoms. "I have connections throughout the medical community. You'll receive the best possible care." She scheduled me with Dr. Harrison Webb, supposedly a renowned neurologist who specialized in treating high-profile patients. "Mr. Thompson," Dr. Webb explained after reviewing my test results, "you have a rare brain condition that requires very specific medication. The good news is, It's completely treatable with the proper pharmaceutical protocol. The bad news is the medication is experimental and extremely expensive. How expensive? Linda asked, taking notes as if planning our financial strategy. Approximately $50,000 per month, Dr. Webb replied. But given your resources, this shouldn't be problematic, and the treatment is remarkably effective when patients follow the protocol exactly. Linda immediately took control of my medication regimen. Every morning and evening, she personally prepared my pills and watched me take them. Dr. Webb was very specific about timing and dosage, she explained. This medication needs to be handled with extreme care. For 6 months, I religiously took the pills Linda gave me, but instead of improving, my condition deteriorated rapidly. The headaches became agonizing, my vision constantly blurred, and I began having seizures. This is normal, Linda assured me. Dr. Webb said the treatment often gets worse before it gets better. You're fighting a very serious neurological condition. During one of my seizures, Amy happened to be visiting and saw the medication bottle Linda was preparing. Her nursing training made her automatically check the label. What she saw made her go pale. Linda, Amy said carefully, this medication is tramadol. It's a basic painkiller, not a neurological treatment, and Michael is taking 10 times the safe dose. Amy, you're a pediatric nurse, not a neurologist, Linda shot back. Dr. Webb is one of the most respected specialists in the country. I think he knows more about treating brain conditions than you do. But Amy insisted on researching Dr. Webb. What she found was terrifying. No medical license, no hospital affiliations, no record of neurological training. Dr. Harrison Webb was a complete fabrication. Michael, Amy said urgently when she came to see me that night, you need to stop taking those pills immediately. They're not treating anything. They're causing your symptoms. Linda is poisoning you. I wanted to dismiss Amy's accusations as jealousy or misunderstanding, but when I looked at Linda's face, I saw something cold and calculating that I had never noticed before. Is it true? I asked Linda directly. Are you poisoning me? Linda didn't deny it. Her mask of concerned wife finally dropped. Michael, you've always been too trusting for your own good. Sometimes difficult decisions need to be made for the greater good. Greater good, I whispered, shocked by her casual admission. You're going to die anyway, Linda said, as if it were fact. This way, your death serves a purpose. The foundation will continue under competent leadership. Your money will be used more efficiently, and you won't suffer through years of health decline. Whose competent leadership? I demanded. Mine and James's, obviously, Linda replied. We've been planning this for years, Michael. Did you really think I married you for love? You were a means to an end, a very profitable end. That night, Amy tried to take me to a hospital, but Linda had anticipated this possibility. She had already filed legal documents declaring me mentally incompetent due to my neurological condition. As my legal wife, she had medical power of attorney and could override any treatment decisions I tried to make. Don't worry, Linda told Amy coldly. Michael will be very comfortable in his final weeks. We've arranged the best hospice care money can buy. But Linda's plan was more elaborate than just letting me die from medication poisoning. 3 days later, she staged a car accident, ensuring I was unconscious but alive when we reached the hospital. What I didn't know was that she had already signed organ donation paperwork in my name. Doctor, my husband always wanted to help others, Linda told the surgical team through convincing tears. If there's any way his organs can save lives, that's what he would want. While I lay in a coma, Linda systematically sold my organs to private buyers. My kidney went for $200,000 to a businessman who didn't want to wait on transplant lists. Half my liver was extracted for $300,000 and sold to a pharmaceutical company for research. My corneas, bone marrow, and other tissues were auctioned to the highest bidders. Mrs. Thompson, I heard a nurse say during one of my brief moments of consciousness, the organ procurement team is asking about timing for the heart donation. When would you like to authorize heart removal? Give me until tomorrow morning, Linda replied. I want to say goodbye properly. That night, as machines kept me alive and my body failed from organ loss, I heard Linda and James celebrating in the hallway. 800,000 so far, James said, toasting with champagne. And that's before the heart sale. Michael's death will fund our new medical empire. The ironic thing, Linda laughed, is that he always wanted to save lives. Now he finally will, by making us rich enough to revolutionize healthcare. I died alone at 3:47 a.m., listening to my own wife negotiate the sale of my heart to a black market surgeon. My last thought was Amy's gentle voice asking if I was truly happy. I died knowing I had wasted my life chasing an illusion while ignoring the one person who truly cared about me. But when the darkness lifted, I was in a classroom at Harvard Medical School, holding an acceptance letter dated 25 years earlier. My hand was steady, my organs intact, my vision clear. Somehow, impossibly, I had been given a second chance. This time, I didn't hesitate. I enrolled in medical school immediately, specializing in organ transplantation and surgical ethics. I studied harder than any student in my class, driven by memories of dying piece by piece, while my wife profited from my suffering. 15 years later, Dr. Michael Thompson was chief of transplant surgery at Boston General Hospital, the same hospital where Linda Parker now worked as director of donor relations. She had no idea who I was. To her, I was just another young doctor who had risen quickly through the ranks. The irony was perfect. Linda controlled organ donations, but I controlled organ transplants. She decided which organs were available for sale, but I decided which patients received them. She had become exactly what she always was, a broker of human suffering. But now, I was the one with the power to grant or deny life. Dr. Thompson, Linda said during our first meeting, displaying the same calculating smile she had used to seduce me in my previous life. I understand you're the new transplant chief. I look forward to working with you. I'm sure we'll have a very interesting partnership, Mrs. Parker, I replied, studying her face carefully. She was older now, more hardened, but still beautiful in that cold, clinical way that had once mesmerized me. I have several high-value clients seeking expedited organ placement, Linda continued, sliding a folder across my desk. These are individuals who can make substantial donations to the hospital in exchange for priority consideration. I opened the folder and saw exactly what I expected. Wealthy patients offering bribes for organs, bypassing transplant lists where children and desperate families waited for life-saving surgeries. This is interesting, I said carefully. Tell me, Mrs. Parker, do you ever think about the ethical implications of selling organs to the highest bidder? Linda laughed, the same cold laugh I remembered from my deathbed. Dr. Thompson, ethics is a luxury we can't afford in modern medicine. Organs are a limited resource. If wealthy patients want to contribute to hospital funding in exchange for priority treatment, that benefits everyone. Everyone except the patients who die waiting, I observed. Someone always dies waiting, Linda replied with chilling indifference. At least this way, their deaths fund medical research that can save future patients. It was exactly the same logic she had used to justify poisoning me, sacrificing one life for a supposed greater good. But this time, I was in control. 6 months later, Linda approached me with a personal request. James Walsh, now her business partner in their private organ brokerage company, needed an emergency liver transplant after years of alcohol abuse destroyed his organ. Doctor, I know this is unusual, Linda said, her voice carrying a touch of desperation I had never heard before. But James is crucial to several ongoing medical research projects. His death would delay important work by years. What kind of medical research? I asked, already knowing the answer. Organ preservation techniques? Surgical innovations? Pharmaceutical development? Linda replied smoothly. James has connections throughout the international medical community that would be impossible to replace. I looked at James's medical chart, studying the same face that had stolen millions from my charity foundation. Mr. Walsh's liver damage is quite severe, I observed. He would need a perfect organ match to have any chance of survival. We can pay whatever it takes, Linda said quickly. Money is no consideration. Actually, Mrs. Parker, I have some questions about Mr. Walsh's background, I said, pulling out a thick folder I had prepared. It seems he's been involved with several charities that mismanage donor funds. There are allegations of stolen medical supplies and fraudulent documentation. Linda's face paled. Doctor, I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, I replied calmly. I'm stating facts. Hospital policy requires extensive background checks on all transplant recipients. We can't risk giving organs to individuals who might misuse their second chance at life. James made some mistakes in his youth, Linda admitted, but he learned from them. He's dedicated his life to medical advancement. Has he? I asked, spreading photographs across my desk, photos I had taken during my Guatemala investigation in my previous life. These are hospitals that supposedly received medical supplies through James's charity foundation. As you can see, children in these facilities are still dying from treatable diseases. Linda stared at the photographs, realizing someone knew the truth about their fraudulent operations. Where did you get these? I make it my business to know who I'm dealing with, I replied. Mrs. Parker, given Mr. Walsh's history of medical fraud and your own questionable practices in organ brokerage, I'm afraid I cannot recommend either of you for transplant services. You can't do this! Linda exploded, losing all composure. James will die without this surgery. Yes, I agreed sadly. Someone always dies waiting. Your words, not mine. Linda tried everything: bribes, threats, appeals to hospital administrators, legal challenges. But my reputation was impeccable, my medical credentials were beyond question, and the evidence of James's fraud was overwhelming. James Walsh died 3 weeks later, his liver failing while waiting for an organ that would never come. At James's funeral, Linda approached me with tears in her eyes, real tears, perhaps for the first time in her life. Dr. Thompson, she said quietly, James was everything to me. We built our entire life together around our medical work. Without him, I have nothing. I'm sorry for your loss, I replied sincerely. Losing someone you love is always painful. Did you know him personally? Linda asked, studying my face. You seem to know so much about his background. Let's just say I learned a lot about who he really was, I replied. Amy nodded sadly. Linda wasn't always cruel. When we were children, she protected me, cared for me in her own way. But something changed when she discovered the power that came with medical connections. She began seeing people as transactions instead of human beings. And you? I asked. Did you ever consider medicine instead of nursing? Amy smiled, the same warm smile that had comforted dying children for 20 years. I prefer direct patient care to medical politics. Holding someone's hand when they're scared, helping families understand treatment options, making sure children feel safe during procedures, that's where I can do the most good. As we walked together through the cemetery, I realized Amy had become exactly who she was meant to be, a healer who chose compassion over profit, service over status. In both timelines, she was the only person who truly understood what medicine should be. Amy, I said as we reached the cemetery entrance, would you like to have dinner sometime? I'd love to hear more about your work with pediatric patients. She looked surprised, but pleased. I would like that very much, Doctor. Thompson. Michael, I corrected gently. Please, call me Michael. 2 years later, Dr. Michael Thompson and Amy Parker were married in a small ceremony at the Children's Hospital where we both worked. Unlike the elaborate spectacle of my previous wedding, this ceremony was attended by 30 people who genuinely cared about us. Patient families we had helped, medical colleagues who respected our work, and children who had recovered under our care. Amy wore a simple white dress and carried flowers picked from the hospital's healing garden. When the minister asked if I took Amy as my wife, I looked into her gentle brown eyes and said, I do, with all my heart, and for all the right reasons. Our marriage was everything my previous one had pretended to be. We were true partners in every sense, sharing medical research, supporting each other's patient care, building programs that actually helped people instead of just generating publicity. Amy's nursing experience combined with my surgical skills created treatment protocols that saved lives and reduced costs. Michael, Amy said one evening as we reviewed patient charts together, I've been thinking about your proposal to expand our pediatric organ donation program. What concerns do you have? I asked, always valuing her practical perspective. I want to make sure we're protecting families from pressure to make decisions they might regret, Amy explained. Organ donation should be a genuine choice, not financial desperation. It was exactly the kind of ethical thinking that had been missing from my previous life. Amy always considered the human impact of our medical decisions, not just the technical or financial outcomes. 5 years after our marriage, we opened the Thompson Parker Center for Ethical Organ Transplantation. Funded entirely by legitimate donations and staffed by medical professionals who shared our commitment to treating all patients equally regardless of their ability to pay. Linda's corrupt organ brokerage network was completely dismantled, replaced by transparent systems that prioritized medical need over financial status. Dr. Thompson, a young resident asked during one of our training seminars, how do you respond to critics who say your ethical standards are too idealistic for modern medicine? I tell them that compromise kills, I replied, thinking of all the patients who had died because people like Linda chose profit over principle. The moment we start treating human organs as commodities, we stop being healers and become merchants of suffering. Amy squeezed my hand as the residents took notes, understanding better than anyone how personal those words were to me. Sometimes, late at night, when I was reviewing surgical schedules, I thought about my previous life, dying alone while Linda counted the money she had made selling parts of my body. The memory no longer filled me with anger, but with profound gratitude for the second chance I had been given. I had used that chance not for revenge, but for justice, not to harm Linda, but to prevent her from harming others, not for vengeance, but to make things right. And most importantly, I had learned to recognize true love when I found it. Amy loved me not for my medical reputation or my family's wealth, but for the person I became when I was helping others. She loved me when I was exhausted after 18 hours of surgery, when I was frustrated with hospital politics, when I was grieving for patients we couldn't save. Michael, Amy said one night as we sat together reviewing applications for our medical scholarship program, do you regret becoming a doctor instead of going into business like your father wanted? I looked around our living room filled with thank you cards from families whose children we had saved, photos of successfully transplanted patients, and medical journals documenting the lives our work had touched. Amy, I said, pulling her closer, becoming a doctor led me to you. That makes it the best decision I ever made. She smiled and kissed me gently. I love you, Doctor. Thompson. I love you too, Mrs. Thompson. Outside our window, snow was falling on the city where I had died alone and betrayed. But inside our home, surrounded by evidence of lives saved and love shared, I felt completely at peace. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies, but becoming someone they could never hurt again. And sometimes the greatest justice isn't punishment, but prevention, ensuring that what happened to you never happens to anyone else. I had been reborn not to take revenge on Linda, but to make everything right. And with Amy by my side, everything finally was right.